The diplomatic station Harmony's Edge had seen many first contact scenarios, but none quite like this one. Ambassador Zekthara of the Velthari Empire stood frozen in the pristine white corridor, her 4 arms trembling as she pressed herself against the wall. Her crystalline skin had shifted to a deep purple, the color of pure terror among her kind. The source of her fear padded quietly beside the human ambassador, its massive form moving with surprising grace despite weighing nearly 200 pounds. The creature's thick, dark fur rippled with each step, and its enormous head swiveled occasionally to examine the unfamiliar surroundings with intelligent brown eyes. Ambassador Zekthara, human ambassador Sarah Chen said gently, noticing the alien's distress. Please, there's no need for concern. He won't bite. The Velthari's translator crackled with her rapid, high-pitched speech. That is a predator! A killing machine! How do you control such a beast? Sarah smiled, reaching down to scratch behind the creature's ears. The massive animal, a Newfoundland dog named Bear, leaned into the touch, his tail wagging slowly. Control? I don't control him. He's my friend. This statement caused Zekthara's skin to flash through several colors rapidly: confusion, disbelief, and renewed fear. In the 3 months since first contact, the Velthari had been studying human behavior, trying to understand these strange bipeds who had somehow achieved faster-than-light travel despite their obvious predatory nature. But this was beyond comprehension. Your species bonds with apex predators. Zekthara's voice was barely a whisper through the translator. Well, Sarah said, settling into a nearby chair as Bear lay down beside her. I suppose that depends on your definition. Bear's here, that's his name, Bear. He's actually quite gentle. His breed was originally used to help fishermen. They'd jump into freezing ocean water to save drowning sailors. The alien ambassador's skin cycled through more colors. The concept of a predator risking its own life to save others was so foreign to her understanding of nature that her translation software seemed to be struggling with the concepts. But it has the teeth of a carnivore, the size to crush smaller beings. Why does it not attack? Sarah's expression grew thoughtful. No, your people have been wondering about humans since we met, haven't you? Trying to figure out how a species with forward-facing eyes, sharp teeth, and obvious predatory adaptations could create art, music, philosophy? Zekthara's skin flickered with acknowledgement. Indeed, this had been the source of many heated debates in the Velthari scientific community. The answer, Sarah continued, is the same reason Bear here doesn't bite. We choose not to. Evolution gave us the tools for hunting, for violence, for survival. But consciousness gave us the ability to transcend those impulses. She gestured to Bear, who had rolled onto his side and was watching a small maintenance. Drone zipped past with lazy interest rather than predatory focus. Bear could easily overpower me or you, or probably half a dozen humans if he wanted to. His ancestors were wolves, pack hunters, apex predators. But thousands of years ago, his species and mine made a choice to live together. Not as master and slave, not as predator and prey, but as companions. This is unprecedented, Zekthara managed, though she remained pressed against the wall. In all our surveys of inhabited worlds, we have never encountered a predator, species that voluntarily restrains its nature. Sarah chuckled. Oh, we don't restrain it. We redirect it. Bear here is still very much a predator. Watch this. She pulled a treat from her pocket and threw it down the hallway. Bear's entire demeanor changed instantly. His ears perked forward, his body coiled with sudden energy, and he bounded after the treat with surprising speed and precision, catching it mid-air with perfect timing. You see? Sarah said as Bear returned, treat devoured and tail wagging. still a predator. But now that hunting instinct is focused on protecting his pack, my family, or playing games or helping people. We took the wolf and made it into something new while keeping everything that made it magnificent. Zekthara's skin had shifted to a pale blue, the color of deep contemplation among her people. Your entire species has done this? Turned your predatory nature into cooperation? More or less. We still have our aggressive impulses, our territorial instincts, our pack loyalties, but we've learned to channel them into sports, into exploration, into protecting those who need protection. Sarah smiled. The same instincts that made our ancestors successful hunters now drive us to hunt for knowledge, to track down cures for diseases, to pursue justice for the wronged. Bear, apparently growing bored with the conversation, approached the still terrified Velthari ambassador. Zekthara tensed, but Bear simply laid down a few feet away from her and rested his massive head on his paws, watching her with gentle, patient eyes. "He's showing submission," Sarah explained softly, "making himself small and non-threatening. He recognizes that you're afraid, and he's trying to comfort you." For several minutes, they sat in silence. Gradually, Zekthara's skin began to shift from purple to a neutral gray, then to a pale green, cautious curiosity. Bear didn't move, just waited. Finally, the ambassador extended one trembling hand toward the massive dog. Bear's tail gave the slightest wag, but he remained still, letting her touch his fur at her own pace. "Soft," she whispered in amazement. "And warm." "That's the thing about humans," Sarah said quietly. "We're not gentle because we're weak. We're gentle because we choose to be, because we're strong enough to make that choice. Bear here could be a wolf, wild and dangerous. Instead, he chooses to be a friend." Zekthara's skin slowly shifted to a warm gold, wonder and acceptance. She was beginning to understand why the human delegation had been so confident during negotiations, why they spoke of peace while maintaining the largest military fleet in known space. They were predators who had learned to love. And perhaps, she thought as Bear's tail began to wag more enthusiastically under her gentle touch, that made them the most formidable species in the galaxy. After all, what could be more terrifying to one's enemies, or more reassuring to one's friends, than a predator who chose mercy?